Hi everybody. I would just like to share a few things I know about glazing. Please remember I'm, maybe a little better than a beginner, but I've been at it for a few years and I have some information to share. So, glazing. First of all, here's a trap for you. Too many glazes. There comes a point where you can't really maximize any of them. I'm hoping that by sharing what I'm learning, somebody else won't buy as many as I have to try to figure out what works well. But anyway, lots of glazes. So keeping your number of glazes under control is important. And I find that if I get a glaze, I try to keep experimenting with it until I get at least one combination that works well and that I like. So, for example, sea mist. I know that sea mist with a little cream on the rim, sea mist with a little iron red on the rim, sea mist over Chino, they all work lovely. I like them, they're pretty. Each pot tells me what color it needs to be. So I found that I'm able to use sea mist effectively in 3 or 4 different ways. It's even pretty by itself on the inside of a bowl or a salsa dish or a mug. So take control of your glazes and use them over and over and over and over and test them and test them and test them until you get a use for it that you really like. Otherwise you'll be throwing away a lot of pots. So instead of throwing away pots, I just have all these little testers. This is just the beginning. I have other testers that I've actually stowed away in a drawer because I don't like them at all, but yet I've kept track of what combinations I've used. Another thing I've learned about glazing is that I generally, and that's generally, don't like a glaze used all by itself. I much prefer layering them. Here's an exception. This is chambray all by itself. It's nice, but chambray with a little cream or a little iron red, maybe a little fog, it just gives it sort of a layering effect and different textures that I prefer. So, make a lot of testers. Don't ruin a lot of pots. That's another little tip. I know this seems terrible, all these little testers, but we're talking about years worth of work here. This didn't happen in a season. This has got to be, these testers here have to be 4 years worth of trying different combinations. Okay. Another thing that I've learned to do is to use a great big stainless steel bowl to dip my pots, especially if they're plates, bowls, fruit bowls, because I can't get the same effects if I pour, and if I try to dip it into a bucket, generally the vase is just a little too big. So pour your glaze into a stainless steel bowl that I hope you got for nothing at a yard sale. Don't be spending $50, $60 for one. Using tongs, I put my pot into the glaze in the stainless steel bowl, and whatever edge goes down in first, see how deep I can get it down in there? That's the edge that has to come out first. And then, if I have to do it again, I can. And it's a nice, even coating. So that's another tip. Good old stainless steel bowl is invaluable. The wider and deeper, the better, because you can always fill it with just a little or a lot, depending on what you need. Another thing I do is I always plan. I know some people will say that's kind of compulsive, but I got to know what pots I'm glazing and what glazes I'm going to use, so I'm sure to open the glazes and use them efficiently and not have too many glazes opened at one time, because it's exhausting. You know, in fact, sometimes I take 2 or 3 days to get all the glazing done because there's no reason, at least for me, retired and doing this for sort of fun, no reason for me to get exhausted. So there's a few tips. Now, you know, what glazes have worked for me? Well, you know, I have my favorites. Don't get dizzy. I have my favorites primarily because they work so well. My cream over Chino, Mediterranean mist over Chino, sea mist over Chino, cream over fog. I've started to do a lot with fog. I'm really enjoying fog in more ways than one. I even did a little fog over Chino, and I got some nice breaking to purple where it overlapped. I'm messing around a little bit with my Mediterranean mist and my sea mist, seeing if I can't get some better textures. I love jade, but it's really fussy, and so I'm careful how I use it, but it's very translucent. I really like the way it comes out. And then I go into the earthy Chinos, oatmeals, again, colors I just really like. And something new that I haven't had a chance to play with very much is this waxy white over medium cork. I did a couple of bowls that way. Or I should say vases. It's got great potential. I just need to work with it a little more. Here's an example of what happens with a little iron red over Mediterranean mist versus the cream or the sea mist. So, you know, what am I doing really? I'm probably trying to maximize 8 glazes. I'm not going beyond that at this point. And once I get a combination that works, I write down every detail. Like, you know, Mediterranean mist to 1/2 inch above bottom, sea mist no more than halfway down the pot. And of course, it varies. If I put sea mist over Mediterranean mist on a little teeny bud vase, it came out very different than when I put sea mist over Mediterranean mist on a mug. Now, the application was different. I never should have gone all the way down with my sea mist. And the place that the pot was in the kiln can make a difference. So I'm going to refire these and see if they don't come out a little bit better. I did an experiment the other day. My dog's name is Poppy, and I really love the red poppy flower. So I took this vase and I painted a poppy and a poppy bud. I used iron red and some coyote really red that one of my students brought over to play around with. And on the inside I used some of her black and white and gold. And I think I used her gunmetal green for the leaves. And then I coated the entire pot in fog, so it should be sort of a, I hope, a gray-green against the red. Now, if the poppy drips all the way down the pot, well, it'll be an abstract poppy. Okay, so a few tips on glazing. I have a little glazing to do today, and I'm going to ask my husband to video me doing a couple of pots, and I'll be sure to share that as well. Okay, tips on glazing, over and out. Thanks for watching.